You are listening to Committed, an ongoing conversation about marriage, intimacy, relationships, and sex. I'm a marriage and relationship coach dedicated to helping couples and individuals like you build stronger, more fulfilling relationships. I have a deep understanding of communication dynamics, conflict resolution, and intimacy. I guide clients through challenges with compassion and expertise. So to get right into it for today, the very first thing I need to address today is some comments that were on one of my videos, actually off of one of my other podcasts. I made a little clip. I put it up on TikTok because I think it's nice to give a little taste. Other people do that. And so I started to get some comments, and it was really about cell phones and cell phone checking on your partner's cell phone. And so I did an episode on a controlling partner, and I kind of put out there a clip about not checking your partner's cell phone. And so some of the comments that I got here, that's bullshit. They don't admit they cheated. Documentation often in their phone. I'm feeling anxious about your recent boys' night. This is a quote. Like, this is something that a partner might say to another partner. I'm feeling anxious about your recent boys' night. Can I look at your phone? And then this person says, pretty simple, transparent, and healthy. Someone else wrote, every time I checked it, it was right. So I'm not going to read all of the comments, but there was some controversy around this, right? That when I'm saying you shouldn't be checking your partner's cell phone, these people are coming back and saying, well, no, that's how we get our information. Like, that's how we know that our partner has been unfaithful and that we catch them in this. And then someone else, in my opinion, based on what I took from that, was like routine checking of phones is a way that, you know, this is how you know that your partner is trustworthy. And I disagree with that a lot, like full-heartedly disagree with that, because it is a very unhealthy behavior to consistently be checking up on your partner to ensure that they are telling you the truth. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying that you should throw it all to the wind and just blindly trust your partner. However, trust is a very, very important aspect of relationships, and people define trust, like areas of trust are different to different people. What I mean by that is like that it's not all about cheating. It's not all about talking to other people, having emotional affairs, having physical affairs with other people. It could also be across other domains that feel like cheating, right? So if you lie to me about what you think about something, that could feel like cheating to someone, right? Because you are not giving me your full truth. You're not being authentic with me. So as you can imagine, we can think about this in other areas. You might not call it cheating, but not being forthcoming, not being honest, not being trustworthy, and having trust issues. So this can happen in many areas of your relationship. But is it a healthy behavior to be checking your partner's cell phone as the method to understand if they are trustworthy? Well, on my side of this, the way that I feel about this is that it points to a much bigger issue. If when you are with your partner, it is prompting you to feel a certain way, that so your trust issues come up, your challenges with feeling like you can trust the other person are coming up for you. And rather than looking at yourself introspectively and asking, why is this coming up for me right now? What is it about this, right? Because for some people, it's that you have been burned in the past, right? And that maybe your partner isn't necessarily exhibiting something that says this person might be untrustworthy, but that you are feeling sensitive and sometimes triggered from events and situations that may have come up in the past. So you're then putting on them that in order to earn and maintain my trust, that you have to fit into this box for me. Well, that says more about you. That says more about what's going on for you and not about them. On the other hand, if your partner has said or done things that indicate that they may be untrustworthy, and it truly is about them, and you start to have concern that maybe they are not a trustworthy person, well, that's also, I want to go a different direction with that as well. I don't want you to get into a habit or behavior of now checking up on them because they've shown you that they're not to be trusted. I want to have a more thoughtful, first introspection, like, should I be with this person? Is this something that's happening over and over again? Is this something that's happening routinely? Is this something that's coming up for us a multitude of times and I just can't get out of it? I just can't like rectify it and move on and move forward in our relationship. It's like 1 week something happens and then 3 weeks later I find something else out, and then a month later this. Well, that's pointing to something different. Does it mean that you really need to check your partner's phone, and that you need to check up on them, that you need to look through their iPad or their computer? Or does it mean that maybe the relationship is not working because it's showing you there's a pattern of distrust? If something has happened once and you have, say, worked through it, or maybe gone to see a professional to help you to work through it, then why after that one time does that mean that you check their phone forever? Well, that doesn't really make sense. That doesn't really compute. Okay, because if your partner truly has made changes and wants to be better for the relationship, then why does it warrant you doing that forever? So does this person mean that what you do is for a time period, you check their phone? And I even honestly feel really controversial saying that because I'm weary. Well, if they're going to lie to you, if they're going to delete things, how would you even know? So what I want you to do instead is I want you to check their behavior. I want you to understand how they operate in their life, and it requires a lot more work of first checking yourself in moments where something might come up, because checking their phone is only going to be temporary relief for you. It's then going to come up again. Okay, do I need to do this again? Okay, do I need to do this again? Okay, a little thing came up. Now I want to, are you going to start following them to work? Are you going to start asking the other people around them? No, I want you to watch. I want you to watch other relationships that they have with other people and see how healthy are those. I want you to assess the relationships with their friends and their family. I want you to assess the way that they treat you, right? Is it over the top? Are they love bombing you? Are they angry with you all the time? Are they irritated? Do they not answer questions that you ask them? Do they lie to you in ways that are like little white lies that you then just find out later without going through their stuff? Do they have, a drinking problem? Do they have an issue with other substances such as drugs? Those things are going to tell you more than just checking the phone, right? And so my argument to no, it's a healthy way to just go through each other's phones, I just don't think so. I really don't. It doesn't heal anything for you. It doesn't help you move forward and make better choices for yourself, right? So the choice and the option really could be, do I need to maybe enroll in some therapy for myself because I need to kind of work on my own insecurities? Or do I need to work on something with my partner and then decide if I should stay with them in the relationship or not? Because you don't want to go forward in your relationship checking your partner's phone or checking their devices. It's just not. I've never checked my husband's phone for anything. And my husband has never really checked my phone. Has never gone into my phone to check my phone. But I will say, like, a healthy behavior is like we will use each other's phones if, I'm driving and I need him to look up an email for something or look up directions, or can you scroll through all these text messages and find this person's text message and see what they said that the address was, or something like that. Well, that really shows you right there that like we have nothing to hide from each other, right? But it's not the routine of I'm starting to feel insecure. If I'm starting to feel insecure about something, I start asking questions. I sit down and have a serious conversation. A lot of the time, I go within myself first and ask myself, what is happening for me right now? Why is it that this is coming up? Why am I feeling this way? Does this have to do with me? Is this a question that I have to ask him right now? Because I would rather go through my relationship knowing that, first of all, my husband never displays behaviors that I'm worried about, that I'm like, I don't know if I can trust you or not. So there's that first thing. Based on that foundation, I go through my relationship believing that I can trust him, because having relationships with other people, they're risks. They're risks that we all take. You have to take the risk. It's vulnerability, right? And maybe you don't understand that. Maybe you haven't grown up in an environment where other people have taken risks. Maybe you have a parent who got divorced, or a parent who's lied to the other, and maybe they just never repaired the trust and never were able to move forward in a healthy way that was exemplified for you, so that you could really see, feel, believe, and live that. And I get that, and I have compassion for you if that's where you're at. It points to something deeper within you. And I'm not saying you didn't pick the wrong partner, because you could have. You absolutely could have. But if you're picking a partner or multiple partners that lie to you over and over and over, well, they're showing you something, right? So listen to them. Listen to them. And stop being in relationship with people who treat you poorly, right? Or lie to you consistently over time. We just don't want that, okay? You don't need that. All right. I'm going to check out my Reddit story. Hey, I saw your post. I have this thing. I am in my first relationship, same as my boyfriend, and we started dating officially 2.5 months ago. The thing is, we don't have much physical contact beyond a quick hello and goodbye hug that we do with everyone always. We already said hi to each other. I love you regularly. I think there was a typo here. It's a perfectly healthy relationship. I just crave more physical contact, but I find it weird to initiate and talk about it. It would be embarrassing, but in the same time, I love every single second of physical contact with him. And when I meet with him, I just wait till the end of the meeting comes so I can have an excuse to hug him, even for just a few seconds. We are both religious Catholics from conservative families, and we both agreed on no sex before marriage due to many reasons. Okay, so it sounds like she wants more physical contact, that all she's really getting is a hug. And I think that the deeper question is craving more contact, but finding it weird to initiate and talk about it. And I think that this is very applicable to many people, even people who have been in a relationship for longer periods of time, because it can be hard to initiate physical contact. And I want to kind of deconstruct the why behind that. And I think it has to really do with attachment. So in general, we have secure attachment, which is what we are all striving for. And then we have the insecure attachment styles. And I'm going to keep it pretty simple today. You've probably heard of anxious attachment and avoidant attachment. The person who attaches anxiously might be the person who wants a lot of physical contact all the time. I want a lot of connection. That's how I become reassured that this relationship is working. Anxiety might come up in them, or trepidation might come up when they start to feel like they're losing connection with their partner. Whereas someone on the avoidant end of things, and I'm going to go into conflict too in a second, on the avoidant end also has that anxiety. So there's a psychologist I used to follow a long time ago, and she used to call herself Dr. Diane. I forget how to pronounce her last name. But essentially, she relabeled the attachment styles secure, independent, and nervous. Because unfortunately, when we call the anxious attacher anxious, and we call the avoidant person avoidant, we're missing out on a piece of that definitionally. Avoidant people have anxiety that comes up. and they feel anxious when conflict happens, or when they're looking for something. If we're talking about this piece about physical intimacy here, someone who is avoidant may desire the physical intimacy, but the strategy that they actually employ is to kind of wait for it to come to them, and maybe they don't initiate it as much because they feel like maybe their partner isn't going to want to give it to them if they go towards their partner. Whereas the anxious person is the initiator most of the time. They are going towards their partner. They are afraid that if they don't do that, then they will lose the connection with one another, right? So a lot of times I find like anxious people are like over texting a lot, lots of connection. I want to stay in connection. I want you to text me during the day. I want you to text me on your way home. I want to know where you are at all times. When we're in a fight, I want to work it out right away. I just want to be in your life. I want to know. I want you to give me the reassurance. I want you to tell me I look pretty. I want you to tell me I look handsome. That is what I see as more of the anxious attacher. Whereas someone who is avoidant also has the anxiety, but their strategy to deal with it is to kind of go away and distance in order to protect themselves. So the anxious person is protecting themselves by wanting to receive the reassurance constantly, whereas the avoidant person is like, I'm going to wait until this person comes to me to kind of prove that they definitely want to be here. And so I don't know if that plays into this situation at all, but the reason that I bring that up is because the secure person, if they want more physical contact, they're going to go get that. And obviously this person is not necessarily talking about sexual contact. I mean, you could call it sexual contact, but without the sex piece, because a lot of times people think that, penetrative sex is sex and that's it. But when we're talking about even sensual contact with one another, the secure person is going to go seek that out from their partner because they feel sufficiently confident that when I need something, my partner is going to give it to me. And that if they're not available to give that to me, they will come back when they are able to, and they will meet my need at some point. And that in the meantime, I'm going to be okay. Whereas somebody who has avoided attachment might be concerned that their partner's not going to want to meet their needs. Like maybe nobody's going to come for me. Or maybe like I'm not good enough. Or maybe my partner doesn't value me enough. And so I'm just going to try to keep to myself, and I'm going to try to meet my own needs because they're probably not going to want to meet my needs anyways. Like I'm so worried about the rejection that I'm actually going to initiate a separation, and then they'll come back if they really want me. Okay? So I'm kind of wondering, is this person falling into that category where I'm fearful that maybe they don't want as much physical contact as I want, and so I'm just going to kind of distance myself and hope that they will come in. So my advice to you in this situation is actually to start talking about it, because whenever we have anxiety, because like I said, there's anxiety on both ends, right? You've got the anxious person who will go for it because they want to minimize their anxiety by getting the reassurance, and the avoidant person that says, I didn't need it anyways. I didn't need you anyways. I'm fine on my own. I can take care of myself. Those are some of my trademark things. I'm fine on my own. I'm classic avoidant. I can take care of myself. When you move more into a secure space, you say, I would love a hug right now. It would just make me feel so good. Or it's hard for me to ask you for something that I need because I'm a little worried that you wouldn't want to give it to me. But I really would love to just have a make-out session because you look so good and I've just enjoyed our time together. Now, I know those feel like really cheesy things to say, and those are some of like my feedback because there are some therapists and maybe some coaches. I don't see a lot of coaches out there talking about this, but who would give you that advice in a session. And it's like, oh, I don't know how realistic that is. At the same time, we need to put ourselves out there and ask for the things that we need and not be as fearful of the rejection, right? And so we want to implement this in really small ways, a little bit at a time, because once we're able to put ourselves out there and really expose ourselves to the risks, they won't feel so hard. Because you'll see, if you're picking right? If you're picking the right person, that person wants to meet your needs. And so when you ask them to meet your needs, they're not going to push you off forever. Okay? So they may not be available at that particular moment to engage in whatever you're looking for, but they will make themselves available for you probably at least 30% of the time. And I know that sounds like a low number, but really, in order for secure attachment to form, parent to child, when we're younger, our parents only had to do it right about 30% of the time. They might not do it right 70%, but if they can at least meet our needs 30% of the time, then we grow to say, oh, well, like, I will have friends. I deserve to have a partner who loves me and who engages in this relationship in a collaborative way, right? But if we were kind of like, depending on the dynamic when we were a kid, pushed and pulled and never didn't get our needs met, and then sporadically got our needs met, we form this insecure attachment to other people. And so we go out into the world and we're just not really sure if we're going to be taken care of or not. And so sometimes that rolls over into like hyper independence, where it's like, I'm just completely independent. I don't trust anybody. And sometimes it rolls over into codependency, where we try to control our environment in order to get our needs met, because we believe that that's the only way that it's going to happen. Like, we feel so fearful that somebody's not going to be there for us that we try to control them to fit into the box that we need them to fit in to, because we're so fearful that if we just let them be their authentic selves, that they actually would not be there for us. Okay? And so that's important to realize and recognize about yourself. Why am I not asking for my need to be met? Well, maybe there's something deep inside of you that worries that the person doesn't actually want to meet those needs, or that you're going to be rejected, or you're going to lose someone that you just formed this amazing relationship with over the past 2.5 months, some of us years, right? So as time goes on, you may feel less and less fearful because you're getting deeper and deeper into your relationship. Time is under your belt, but there's also a lot of time for there to be conflict and for there to be breaks in your connection. So this time in the beginning is so valuable and so precious. Cherish it and ask for the things that you need in little doses, and you will find that your partner wants to be there for you. And if you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't want to do that, well, guess what? You shouldn't be in that relationship then.
Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. If you're new to our community, welcome. We really want our podcast to grow, so please like, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review with your feedback on how we can make your experience most catered to you. As I work with my private clients continuously, this podcast is a great way for me to help more of you. Please reach out if you have any